everyone, I'm Becky and I'm currently in the process of starting up my business, Becky Builds. I started to kind of dabble with a bit of woodwork summer of last year when I was making fairy houses and just equipment for my classroom, and since then I've expanded my workshop. I've been buying up tools through the year and really just experimenting, and I'm starting to experiment now with some different wood types, and I'm hoping eventually to release a toy line that I can sell, and I'm also kind of just doing little jobs for people, so making tokens for birthdays. Also, the other side of what I'm doing a bit of pyrography, so making Christmas decorations, making signs, making house signs and things like that. I'm in no way, shape or form an expert. I'm completely new to all of this and I'm learning as I go along, and I've learned loads from watching loads of YouTube videos, so I wanted to have a go at making my own, so hopefully I can help some of you out there. So, welcome to my journey of woodwork. So I'm going to start by making my way through a full product today. This is something new that I only tried last week for the first time. I've been posting pictures of it in social media and it seems to have had a really good uptake. So I thought I'd go through the whole process to show you how I put them together. Again, like I said before, I'm no expert, so if you've got any hints or tips of anything I can do better, please comment below and I really appreciate the help. So I'm going to be working on making my line of botties. These are my wooden robots, quite simple but out of really nice wood. So I've got Botty here who's made out of ash and quite simply kind of squaring, cube and cuboid shapes put together with string. I've got Betty who's made out of spalted beech, so there's some lovely markings and things going on in there within her body. And I've got Bertie, smaller one. Must have completely forgotten what wood this one's made out of. I think it's just beech without any spalting in it, but it was all wood that I picked up from the bargain bin at Sneinton Wood Supplies, so I've just been experimenting, seeing what I can do. But they're quite nice, they sit up. Nice kind of little play value toys. So starting with this gorgeous piece of wood that again I picked up from Sneinton with some lovely knots and natural rot and spalting within it. I'm going to start by measuring my robots out. Okay, so I've marked my measurements out. I'm now going to go on to cutting using the bandsaw. So I've cut my body out and I'm now going to work on cutting out Betty's head and her feet. I love the light grain in this wood, so I've been careful to match it up to ensure that the light at the top of her body will match with the light at the bottom of the wood, which will become her head. Feet, not so bothered about, like a bit of variation of colour within those. Okay, so that's everything cut out. So I've got body, head and 4 feet. Look rather large at the minute, but if you kind of compare to the finished product, feet are a great example for this. You can see that they actually shrink quite a bit in size through the sanding process. On the body and the head and the hands and feet, I've marked central crosses, and this is where my drill hole's going to go. Okay, so that's all the drilling of holes done now, so I'm going to change my drill bit and put in the countersink, which will allow me to drill the eyes, and it will also allow me to countersink around the bottom here. That's the area that the knot sits, which means that the knot sits up inside the body, so that Bertie or Betty or Botty can all sit down flat and kind of adds to their play value. So everything's cut, everything is drilled. I'm going to leave doing the mouth of the body till the very end because the finish of that doesn't matter quite so much. I'm on to probably my least favourite job, the sanding. So I've started off just by kind of doing a rough sand on each side, holding the bit of wood onto the sander, gently moving it backwards and forwards to ensure that you don't end up kind of sanding unbalanced or anything like that. Kind of just smooths out any marks left from the drilling, gets rid of the pencil marks, just gives it a nice smooth initial finish. I'm going to move on to curving the edges. That's all done, and those corners are a lot softer now, but if you look really closely you'll notice that there's ridges on the corners. Not quite the finish that I want to achieve yet, but I'll amend that through my hand sanding where I'll move down the grits and hopefully get that nice silky smooth finish. Okay, so we're on to the final stage of preparing our bots. I am going to be hand sanding to get that lovely smooth finish. I am using Arbornet sanding pads, something I picked up really cheaply from Turner's Retreat. Last time I was there, I think they were about 40p each, and I've got grits from 80 all the way down to 600, so silky smooth finish. I'm going to ignore the 80 and start at the 120. The whole of the bots already had a polish down to 120 on the bench sander, but it just allows me to smooth off those corners, any sharp edges, and then I'll work my way down. So I finished all my sanding and I'm back in the workshop. It was just getting a little bit too hot out there in the sun. I don't know how well it picks up on camera, but all of this has a really nice soft finish now, really smooth, feels almost like plastic to the touch, and I love the way that this wood has cracked and spalted naturally. It's added a really nice effect in the wood. So the next step for me is to add Botty's mouth on. So you'll notice that I've marked just the start and the end, and I'm going to use this coping saw just to cut it in by hand because I don't want it to be too big cut and I don't want it to be too deep. So his mouth's all cut now. I did just use a little bit of fine sandpaper, I think it was a 320 grit, just to put in between his mouth and just give it a little bit of polish, and I just worked my way up to 600 just to make sure there was a nice smooth edge and no chips sticking out. So the final step for me now is adding the wax before I tie them all together. Again, just something I picked up from Sneinton Woodworking Supplies. It's a chestnut wood wax, kind of gives a nice matte but quite nice malleable finish, and great thing for me is it is safe for toys. So I'll get that opened up, and I've just got a bit of old cotton rag that I'm going to use just to give it a layer. Probably leave it for about an hour or so, buff it off, and then I'll give it another layer. So I've got an old rag here, an old cotton rag, put a little bit on, and you just rub it all around, and you can see instant kind of brings out the grain and adds a lovely finish to that wood. I will add a second and probably even a third coat of this. Takes about 15 minutes between each coat. So I'll put this one on, leave it, and then come back to it a bit later. Okay, so that's polishing all finished. I'll leave it there and probably give it another coat in about 15 minutes time. And then it's just a case of stringing them back together. So I'm going to wait and do that when I get home. I've forgotten to bring the needle with me and I don't quite have the right equipment. It's a bit easier sat down at a table. So see you back at home. So back at home now and on to the final stage of putting together our bot, and that is construction. So I'm just using this kind of jute garden twine from Wilkinson's. It's not the best stuff, but it's what I had to hand at the moment. I'm hoping to kind of upgrade it to something a bit better in the long run. I was thinking maybe some parachute cord or something that's a bit stronger and that maybe has a bit more kind of stiffness to it. But for now, this will do. Just use that skewer just to push the needle through because it's a bit long. And you'll see that once everything's pulled in, that knot is completely hidden within the bottom. If I snip the ends off, and I will glue them a bit later on just to make sure they're fully secure, and pull it tight, you'll see that the bot will be able to stand up without any problems, and that knot's nicely hidden away. And I'm going to finish by cutting those fairly long because I want them to look like my robot's antennae on top. So you'll see we've strung them together and it's got that lovely clanky sound. Okay, so I'm just going to do the final snip and I think we're all finished. Like I said earlier, I might add a bit of glue just to the knots just to add a bit of security. But these are kind of just prototypes. They won't be played with by any children yet, so I'll sort of see how they go. And there we go. There is our finished bot. Thank you for watching and I'll see you on my next video.